In this edition of Southern Newsweek, new laws have been passed, but some remain concerned that workplace health and safety is insufficient. Significant investment, dreaming and hard work pay off for George Street Normal School, and it's been months since the June floods, but some residents are still affected by the aftermath. Kia ora, I'm Holly Buchanan. Local union members are calling for better workplace protection in the wake of new legislation. A new occupational health and safety law has just passed through Parliament, but some residents are concerned it doesn't go far enough.
Parliament's new health and safety legislation is attracting criticism. Union's Otago convener Fiona Matapo says the bill's a watered-down version of what John Key originally promised after the Pike River disaster, lacking important provisions that guarantee workers the right to health and safety representatives.
There was a promise made by John Key at that time that there would be some changes to health and safety legislation in New Zealand, and we believed at that time that those changes would have a really positive impact on worker safety, and then it fell short.
Matapo's main concern with the new legislation is the classification of high-risk workplaces. She says some of the country's most dangerous workplaces, such as dairy farms, are now deemed low risk, while lavender farms fall under the high-risk category. And when local union members lobbied Workplace Relations and Safety Minister Michael Woodhouse, they were turned away.
That sent a message to Unions Otago that there was no real attempt by the Minister or any real intention of communicating with us and listening to our views.
Residents opposed to the law also staged a vigil, making their views known to the Minister and the wider public. And Matapo says the show of camaraderie helped to reassure her that the cause is an important one.
One of the positives that came out of that is that we now have a community of families who formed some strong bonds and relationships. So that's good to see. It's not the outcome we wanted, but that is one positive.
Despite the bill having passed through Parliament, Matapo's confident Unions Otago can make a difference, with plans for further discussion around the Act's fine print. Ruby McAndrew, 39, Dunedin News.
Local secondary school students are getting a taste of life in the construction industry. They've toured some of the city's trade-based businesses as part of a nationwide campaign, and it's all in an effort to showcase post-study opportunities.
Getting a glimpse at what a career in joinery looks like. These secondary school pupils are on a whirlwind tour of 4 building and construction sites around the city to see firsthand the benefits of picking a trade career.
We're just highlighting to them that there's great opportunities within the trades, opportunities that do have jobs behind, where some of the university degrees often don't have career paths following graduation.
This tour is part of a nationwide push by the Building and Construction Industry Training Organisation to encourage more young people to enter the industry. Bellamy says one drawcard is that in many trades, students are able to earn while they learn. And he says the skills they learn are in demand worldwide.
There are opportunities, especially opportunity with travelling, things like that they can take the skills, a trade skill is something that they've got for life and as a handy tool to have.
Bellamy says the Christchurch rebuild as well as Auckland's continual growth means there's more work than ever in the construction industry. And he says that's also the case locally. Here
in Dunedin, most of our work we specialise as Central Otago and Queenstown, high-end residential work as well as commercial joinery, so there's quite a big demand for that as well. The industry's in a real growth period, so there are definitely job opportunities available at the moment.
Bellamy says it's important to allow the students to see an operational workplace and the machinery being used, giving them the insight they need to consider a career not only in joinery but across the trades. Ruby McAndrew, 39, Dunedin News.
George Street Normal School is celebrating the realisation of a dream 5 years in the making. Its new $1.2 million modern learning environment is now open, and it's paving the way for the future of education.
It began with the need for a new school library, and after a year-long build, there's now a state-of-the-art 2-storey learning centre at George Street Normal School. The space links 11 classrooms and includes a large multi-purpose library, An acting co-principal, Anne Robertson, says it's designed to connect pupils with technology as well as each other.
This whole area is Wi-Fi. Our book collection will also have a digital aspect to it and things like that, as well as just the space. The space connects to 11 classrooms. So those classrooms are going to be able to flow in and out of here.
The centre is officially called a modern learning environment, a term from the Ministry of Education which contributed $146,000 to the project. And Robertson says securing the remaining funds and sticking to a budget has been a combined effort.
The whole build was about $1.2 million, but we were very lucky. We got a lotteries grant, and we've had the Community Trust of Otago support us with the carpet. So it is on budget. We've been very cautious with the budget and careful all the way through.
Robertson says the space was made as big as possible to accommodate future growth. She says adaptability is important, especially with ever-changing technology. And she hopes this learning centre inspires similar setups elsewhere.
All schools are thinking about these things, about how to make an environment where children can connect and collaborate and work together, and also across big kids helping little kids, and breakout spaces and things like that.
Robertson says staff are still figuring out different ways to utilise the space to ensure the school's 477 pupils get the maximum benefits for years to come. Ruby McAndrew, 39, Dunedin News.
A record cruise ship season is expected to pump millions more into the local economy. Already the sector is worth about $36 million to the city each year, and local tourism operators are preparing for an influx of extra passengers.
Discussing logistics ahead of Dunedin's biggest cruise ship season. More than 200,000 passengers and crew are expected to visit the city between October and April. That's an increase in numbers on last season and accordingly an increase in profit.
So we're looking at about 12% growth in passenger numbers, but the same number of ships, but the ships are getting bigger with a lot more people on.
It's estimated this season will boost Dunedin's economy by $40 million, and the following season's expected to be even bigger, with a record 91 ship visits and about 300,000 passengers and crew.
We're making sure that everybody knows exactly what's going on, so that then we have a seamless service for our visitors, so they're knowing the security procedures, what's happening at the eyesight, making sure they get all their paperwork filled out.
It's Barker's last cruise season. She's resigned from the council to work at the Peninsula Trust, and she's proud of how far the local sector's come, with operators settling their differences to cooperate for everyone's benefit.
Oh, absolutely. I think there's a lot of relationships being built, which is great, between the attractions and the operators, so that we do get better experiences for our visitors. And I think that people know what the goal is, which is to make Dunedin a fantastic, or the best port we would hope that visitors are coming to. So I think the industry has really come together over this.
With several cruise seasons under their belts, local tourism operators are in the swing of things, as is Port Otago and the City Council. But Barker says staff can't afford to be idle.
Complacency is that making sure that we're not thinking that we're doing a wonderful job and not working on increasing quality of the Dunedin experience all the time.
The first cruise ship's due in port on the 3rd of October. Rosie Mannins, 39, Dunedin News.
The widespread flooding of early June continues to take a toll on residents almost 3 months later. Those affected are receiving a helping hand from the City Council and various other agencies which have established a drop-in centre.
It's been a few months since Dunedin was flooded by torrential rain, but the effects are still being felt. Dozens of families remain out of their homes, and many properties are still extensively flood damaged. The ongoing troubles prompting staff from the City Council and social agencies to assemble at a South Dunedin church to help in any way they can.
Really wanting to reach those who have still got ongoing issues, who just want that, somewhere to go to ask a question. They might just be driving by and say, "Oh, wonder what?" and that's why we're here, just to help those people.
Williams says tenancy and insurance difficulties are big problems for flood-affected locals, and many homeowners are still waiting for builders to start repairs.
In fact, I drove here particularly down Burns Street and then down Kirkaldy, and you can see a number of empty properties, a number of workmen outside, some and others are clearly vacant houses.
All that damage has proved one thing though, and that's the strength of the community. Raised in South Dunedin, Williams says she's amazed at how supportive and helpful residents have been to one another in the storm's aftermath. And the drop-in centre's been a welcome safety net.
We are anticipating today as a sort of a last chance, because we've got the DCC call centre that's always there for people to call, and we can get them directed to the right place through that. But if there is enough demand, then we would reconsider.
The day-long centre's open until 7 p.m, and Williams urges people who need help to ask for it. David DeLorean, 39, Dunedin News.
Still to come on Southern Newsweek. And then there were 4. What do Dunedin residents think of the last 4 options for a new national flag? And changing lives one daffodil at a time, the Cancer Society celebrates a quarter of a century of support. Welcome back. Locals have mixed opinions on the 4 flag designs shortlisted for public vote. The flags were recently revealed in Parliament ahead of 2 national referendums, but not everyone's happy with the plan to change flags or how much it's costing the government.
This flag's days may be numbered. A government-appointed panel has just shortlisted 4 alternative flag designs. The options will be put to public vote in the first of 2 binding referendums later this year. But already there's debate whether changing the flag is necessary and worth the $26 million price tag.
It seems to be cutting our ties with Britain, which is, to me, majority of older people perhaps come from there. So I don't think it should be changed yet.
We definitely do need our own identity. Even though we do have ties to Mother England, I still think that we should have our own identity and be our own people.
I think it should be changed. It's really similar to the Australian flag and a few other flags out there.
I don't think so, because of all the old people that fought in the war. You know, it's a big thing for them.
I fought under it. I hope to have it on my coffin when I die.
3 of the options show variations of the silver fern commonly associated with the country's sports teams, while the final option is a koru in black and white. And while John Key and Richie McCaw have made their preference for a silver fern known, public opinion differs.
Personally, I'm not that fond of most of them. I think that one's probably the best one, but to be honest, I don't think most of them just reflect New Zealand's culture at all.
I like that one because it's multicoloured and it's bright.
I probably like that one because it's got the black in it, and it's still pretty original, but it's got the all black symbol and all that.
I personally don't like any of them. To be honest, I like the original one.
Residents will be asked to rank the 4 options in the first binding referendum held between November 20th and December 11th. Come March, the winning alternative design will be pitted against the current flag in the final referendum. And if chosen, the brand new flag could be flying this time next year. Ruby McAndrew, 39, Dunedin News.
Dunedin's status as a UNESCO Creative City of Literature is paying dividends for one local writer. He's the first New Zealander selected for a residency in Prague, a fellow city of literature, and he hopes his success leads the way for other local authors to work internationally.
Dunedin author David Howard will soon be writing from across the globe, having just scored a 2016 writers' residency in Prague, a UNESCO Creative City of Literature. The opportunity is only afforded to writers connected to the 11 cities with that status. And Howard says the residency is a perfect fit.
I immediately thought of the work I'd already done that was set in Prague, because I have a long-standing interest going back over 2 decades. And in fact, in 1991 I finished a long poem called The Carrion Flower, which is about the assassination of the Nazi Heydrich in Prague by Czech partisans.
Howard's connection to Prague is partly thanks to his working relationship with Czech composer Marta Jirakova, who scored his work. Howard plans to continue the collaboration, this time working on a series of dramatic monologues.
There's a very real connection. There's not something that I've just drummed up to look good on a piece of paper for an application. I've got a long-standing interest in this part of the world. And the literature from this part of the world, I mean, Miroslav Holub, who was one of the great poets of the 20th century, is a Czech.
He's looking forward to highlighting connections between Dunedin and Prague during his residency. and plans to use the overseas opportunity to showcase as much Dunedin talent as possible.
Part of the requirement of the residency is to do a series of public presentations. I want to profile some Dunedin writers because I'm one of several Dunedin writers who I think, could benefit from getting out there on the international stage, and I'll be very happy to read work by others.
Despite his interest in the Czech Republic, Howard knows very little of the language, something he'll work on over the next few months before his residency starts in February. Ruby McAndrew, 39, Dunedin News.
The Cancer Society is celebrating a major milestone, recently marking the 25th anniversary of Daffodil Day. The flower fundraiser is the organisation's flagship appeal, critical for its ongoing operation. And with the generosity of locals, it's changing lives.
It's been 25 years since volunteers like these first started selling daffodils on city streets to fundraise for the Cancer Society. The annual appeal's as strong as ever, with hundreds of Otago residents taking part. June Porter Mills has been with the Cancer Society for even longer and says the donations change lives.
We are a charity, we receive no government funding at all, and so we raise all our funds from within our community in a variety of ways, and we can actually spend it back, and it allows us to give all our services free to anyone who needs them.
The Society facilitates a range of services, from gardening to counselling, for people battling serious illness. People like Trista Townsend, diagnosed with breast cancer in 2012. She went through chemotherapy and surgery and is now giving back to the Society, manning a stall to help fund the seminars and support that aided her struggle.
Also did some meditation sessions and also some counselling services, utilised the counselling services, so it's been really invaluable to my recovery really.
The message from everyone involved in the appeal is unanimous. Dig deep on Daffodil Day, with all money raised locally staying in the community. The event doesn't only impact cancer patients, it's caused a logo change and culture shift within the Society.
For many it was an opportunity to look at the daffodil and see what it meant to them, and then to actually feel more comfortable without the medical pressure put on them. They felt more open about coming to see us and spending time with us.
Porter Mills says the daffodil represents hope, and by fundraising with the flower, the Society transfers that positive symbolism to people fighting one of life's toughest battles. David DeLorean, 39, Dunedin News.
And just ahead on Southern Newsweek, hundreds of young footballers finish off the season at a mini World Cup, and putting smiles on some young faces, Dunedin's annual Special Rigs Convoy prepares for a special anniversary. Welcome back. Football is thriving in the city, with about 700 local children involved in a recent tournament. They took to the pitch for the annual Mini World Cup held at the Oval. It's the only event of its kind in the country, comprising players from every local club.
Celebrating the end of football season with a large-scale five-a-side tournament. 86 teams of young local footballers compete in Dunedin's annual Mini Football World Cup. A fun tournament that organiser Shane Carvell says gives young athletes competition experience.
At this age, our first kicks at our fun football ages, which are basically 4 to 8, I guess the aim as a football development officer, which I am, is to highlight the emphasis of fun, but also at the same time, I guess when they get into this little environment, it's getting a taste of a little bit of a competitive nature.
Carvell says most of the city's 12 football clubs are growing in size, with an increasing number of young players signing up each season. And that bodes well for the future of the sport in the south.
I think football is a game at the moment in our city and around the country that is growing, and it's quite exciting. Not only just in the area of football, but our women's game particularly is a growth area, and also futsal is a growth area as well.
He says this year's FIFA Under-20 World Cup games played in Dunedin have helped grow the sport's popularity, showing young players how far they can go. And Mayor Dave Cull says it's great to see so many children passionate about sport.
It's 700 kids here on a Saturday morning in the middle of, no, not quite the middle of winter, and probably as many parents. There's a lot of energy on the place. I think it's a fantastic thing in the city, and that's why I come along each year and get involved.
Carvel says over the next few years, Football South will focus on retaining players between 13 and 19 years old, ensuring local club growth continues so these little ones have a future in the game. Ruby McAndrew, 39, Dunedin News.
Some of New Zealand's best ice skaters have been showing off their skills in Dunedin. The city's just hosted the South Island Figure Skating Championships involving over 100 competitors. And with nationals only a month away, many turned their attention to qualifying.
Ice skaters from near and far compete locally in the South Island's annual Figure Skating Championships. From beginners to senior skaters, every competitor looks to outskate their rivals. And the panel of judges take it just as seriously.
We're looking to see how the skaters move across the ice. Are they interpreting the music? Are they delivering their program? Are they projecting themselves? When they go out there, when they step out there, it's showtime, and that's what we want to see.
Many competitors are classed as up-and-coming skaters entered into pre-elementary and elementary categories. And Williamson Leadley says the sport's going through a development phase nationwide.
We lost quite a few of our more senior skaters over the last few years. We've now got a young group of skaters coming through. We're seeing some really exciting skating coming through, and we really are hopeful for the future of what's coming through.
Skaters have been preparing for the competition season since February, training up to 5 times a week. Something 5-time New Zealand senior ladies champion Morgan Templeton knows all too well. And while she's out of this contest with a foot injury, she's happy to see others succeed.
Everyone else did really well. I thought we had some great competitors. I saw lots of cool spins and jumps, and there was great footwork. And I think across the board in all the different levels, we had some really talented skaters. So it was quite promising.
The South Island Championships serve as a stepping stone to other events, with most competitors aiming to qualify for the national champs at the end of September, before setting their sights on representing New Zealand internationally. Ruby McAndrew, 39, Dunedin News.
Ice hockey teams from around the South Island are in Dunedin vying for victory in a secondary schools tournament. The competition is part of a national winter sports week for top teenage athletes, and organisers say it's the stepping stone young players need to go further in the sport.
Wakatipu A gives defending champions Kings High School a run for their money on the rink. Every year during Winter Sports Week, ice hockey teams from around the South Island come together to compete for top honours. And organiser Nicole Ross says unlike most sports, the small pool of ice hockey players allows those in a lower grade to be involved.
Ice hockey, because it's quite a unique kind of sport, we offer a B grade, effectively kind of a development kind of grade for the sport, which is really quite useful because it's quite a strange sport to play and very quite hard to get into and get team numbers for.
Dunedin schools are well represented at the week-long tournament, with 2 teams from Kings High School and 1 from John McGlashan College, as well as a female team made up of players from across the city's girls-only colleges. And while this year's league is slightly smaller than in previous years, Ross says that's for a good reason.
The team that won B grade last year now stepping up into A grade, which is fantastic. But we've cut back down to 3 teams in B grade, so it is a bit of a smaller league, but it's purely there for development. And so it's really exciting to see Dunstan Mount Aspiring team that combined and won B grade last year stepping into A grade and giving it a go.
Unlike some of the other South Island sports tournaments happening this week, there's no national championship for these teams to progress to. Despite that, Ross says there's still plenty of opportunities for individual players to progress in the sport.
There's a lot of direct pathways and multiple players playing for the likes of the Thunder and things like that as well. So yeah, individual player pathways are very common in the sport.
While Wakatipu secured this win, the competition is only just underway, as both the A and B grade round robin competitions comprise 2 more days of play before the final buzzer on Thursday. Ruby McAndrew, 39, Dunedin News.
And finally, plans are brewing for next year's milestone anniversary of Special Rigs for Special Kids. The annual event proves to be an emotional, mind-blowing journey for many locals as children ride across the city in style.
It's not every day a convoy this big rolls into Dunedin, with more than 200 trucks lined up to take youngsters on the ride of their lives. Despite the weekend's wet weather, this year's Special Rigs for Special Kids event went off without a hitch, as truck drivers toured the city with unique children, an experience that got everyone buzzing.
It's just a great time, yeah. So nice of the drivers and everyone to facilitate it.
I don't know who gets more of a thrill.
the drivers or the kids. It's actually a buzz to take them around and actually see their faces.
I like the beeping the horn.
Well, I used to go, and when I was a wee kid myself, I used to go on the trucks with Greg and that, and Mum, so yeah, and then I just carried it on, so as soon as I was old enough to drive.
Organisers say the event takes a massive amount of planning, but it's always a humbling experience. Each year, new faces join regulars in the crowd, including one truckie who had an emotional first ride with the family that inspired him to take part.
My great nephew over there is a leukemia success, so it's in the family.
With this year's special rigs successfully attracting hundreds of spectators, organisers are celebrating. But already plans are forming for next year's 25th anniversary, and a meeting's planned for mid-September to start sorting the extra special occasion.
It's a huge achievement to have an event go for 25 years. It's, yeah, Dunedin gets behind it, and that's what makes it a success. So we'll pull something out of the bag.
A charity auction capped off the day. Inch says it's a nice way to end things, as he shies away from fundraising with the event itself, run purely for the smiles on children's faces. David DeLorean, 39 Dunedin News.
And that's all for this edition of Southern Newsweek. Please do visit our website dunedintv.co.nz, where you can download Southern Newsweek and watch individual clips of 39 Dunedin News or webcast the show. I'm Holly Buchanan. Thanks for watching.
Supporting local content so you can see more of New Zealand on air.